Hi everyone, my name is Millie, and in these videos we're going to be looking at a little bit of English grammar. Hola a todo el mundo, yo me llamo Millie. Estos videos van a ser para aprender un poquito de gramática en inglés. So we need to speak in English. These videos are going to be in English. Okay, vamos a hablar en inglés. Hi everyone, welcome to this week's grammar class. Today we're going to be looking at two words. Okay, it is whose and whose. And you can see they sound the same, but they mean different things. Okay, and sometimes when we're learning English, they can be a little confusing. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to be looking at homophones, because what is a homophone? Okay, so a homophone are words that sound the same. So if you hear them, they sound the same, but they are different, okay? They don't mean the same thing and they are written differently also, okay? So homophones are words that sound the same but have different meanings. Okay, so that's what that means. When you see that words are homophones, it means that you're going to have two words, and when you listen to them, when you hear them, they sound the same. But you've got to be careful, because if you're reading something or if you're listening to a conversation, you're going to have to know, or writing, you're going to have to know the difference. So that's what we're going to do today, okay? We're going to look a little bit at homophones, and then we're going to center, we're going to focus, nos vamos a centrar, we're going to focus on whose and whose. Okay, those are the homophones we're going to see today. So just first, a couple of examples of homophones. The first one here, we have son and sun. And you can see I set them the same. They sound exactly the same. So are they the same? No. One has an O, okay, and the other has a U. And not only that, but they mean different things. Son with an O means this here. This man, he is the father, and the little boy is the son. Okay? And the other word, the other son, is this over here, as you can see, right? The sun. Okay? So they sound the same. We say them the same, but they are two different things. Okay? Let's go on to another example. Sent and scent. Again, two words that are homophones because they sound the same, they're said the same, but let's look at their meanings, okay? The first one we can see has an S, okay? And its meaning is the smell of something, right? The scent, okay? This candle and this oil have a lovely floral scent, okay? Scent. And the other word that sounds the same but does not have an S, it has a C, is this right here. It is a coin, okay? A cent. 1 cent. Centimo. 1 cent. Okay? Let's look at another example. B and B. Again, same thing. It sounds the same. We say them the same, but they are two different words. They're written different. And they mean different things. Significan cosas diferentes. They mean different things. Let's look at the first one. B with two E's. This is this little guy right here. Okay. This is a bee. Okay. Be kind to the bee. Be careful with the bee. The bee is flying, so it's a bee. Okay, with two E's. And then the one with one E is from the verb, right? The verb to be, el verbo ser, to be. So this is be kind, be nice, be happy, okay? Be on time, so be. Then we have dear and dear. Dear and dear. One has an E and an A, okay? The other has two E's. And the first one is something that we use when we're going to write a letter. to someone we care about, right? Dear mom, dear Santa, right? You write dear, okay, in front. Or you can even say it when you're talking to someone that is special and someone that you care about. You can call them dear, okay? And then the other word with the two E's is the animal, is this animal that we see here. Okay, this is a deer. Okay. Another homophone, flower and flower. You can see I'm saying it the same way. Flower, flower. Except one word, one of them has an O and a U, and the other has an O and a W and an E. Okay? So the first one is this right here that we see on the screen. It's a sack of flour. You use this to make cakes, to make bread, to make pasta. Okay, flour, it comes from wheat, flour. And then the other word with the O, the W, and the E, flour, is this right here. Okay, that now in spring we have in our fields, the flower, the bee and the flower. Okay. So these are just a few homophones. If you're interested in learning more about it, let me know. Okay, so let's just remember homophones are words that sound the same, they're read, they're said the same, they sound the same, iguales, they sound the same, but they mean different things. Okay, they are not the same thing, they do not have the same meaning. Okay, and now we're going to center on the homophones whose and whose. Okay, so moving on, now we're going to focus, we're going to center on the two homophones whose and whose. Okay, so the first one is this word right here, whose. And right away you can see that this word has an apostrophe. Okay, it has an apostrophe. And when it has an apostrophe, right, in this case, we can see that it's a contraction. Okay, it's made from two words, who is or who has. Let's take a closer look. Okay, so whose, when it's written this way, is the contraction of who is or who has. Okay, and now let's look at it a little bit more. So this word here, these two words here, who is, you can say it that way, you can write it that way, but you can also write it as a contraction, okay? And when you write it in a contraction, you're going to take those two words, you're going to put them together. What happens is when you put these two words together, the I disappears. Or you can say that it turns into, okay, it turns into this apostrophe, okay? Whose, all right? So this is one of those homophones that we were talking about. And then the other two words that whose can be is who has, who has. And right away, I want you guys to look at it and have a think, right? Have a think about which letters disappear or which letters turn into an apostrophe. Okay, we take away the H and the A, and then when we put them together, the H and the A turn into an apostrophe or they disappear, and we have to put an apostrophe. Okay, this little red apostrophe here, okay, to show that the H and the A are gone. Okay, whose and whose. Okay, who is and who has. So in this case, okay, I've put a small example. We'll see a little bit more, we'll see a few more examples later. But here, who is sleeping in my bed? Okay, if you want to repeat, I can say it slower. Who is sleeping in my bed? Who is sleeping in my bed? Now, Who is? Can I write that differently? I can. I can use a contraction. And here we see who's sleeping in my bed. So if you want to repeat, I will say it slower. Who's sleeping in my bed? Who's sleeping in my bed? And I've put this little picture here from Goldilocks and the Three Bears because, well, it's a very well-known story, isn't it? We've got Goldilocks and she's in the bed, in Papa Bear's bed, and Papa Bear is the one that's saying, who is sleeping in my bed? Who's sleeping in my bed? Let's look at a few more examples, okay, so that we can really understand what it is that we use this word for, okay? So let's remember that whose is the contraction, okay? Contraction, I take two words, put them together, of who is or who has, okay? So in this sentence, I have a picture, okay? And it's a dog, and they're going to give it some food, okay? The dog is hungry, they're going to give it food. So this question can go perfect with this picture. Who's been feeding the dog? Okay, who's been feeding the dog? And here I can see that who's, right, the one that's in red, okay? It could be who has been feeding the dog. Who has been feeding the dog? But it is true that when you speak in English, sometimes we speak faster, right? So then that's why we would use the contraction. Who's been feeding the dog? Okay, let me say it slower so you can repeat. Who's been feeding the dog? And now a little quicker. Who's been feeding the dog? And now even quicker. Who's been feeding the dog? Okay. Another example, okay? And let's look at the picture first, just for a little bit. See if you can think of a sentence that you can use with this picture. So you have the living room, and it's very messy. It's very dirty. It's a mess, right? There's things on the floor. They haven't cleaned in a while, so you've got the cleaning supplies here, right? You've got the broom, the mop. You've got a broom. You've got some cleaners. So what could I ask? Right? Have a think. Okay. Who's going to clean this mess? Who's going to clean this mess? And who's here you can kind of imagine, right? Who has going to clean this mess? No, that doesn't make sense. It's who is going to clean this mess? Who is going to clean this mess? And if I wanted to write it into a contraction, who's going to clean this mess? I would write this word here. Okay, I will say it slower so those of you that want to repeat can repeat. Who's going to clean this mess? And now a little faster. Who's going to clean this mess? And now much faster. Who's going to clean this mess? Okay. And now this is our last example for who's for now. So we have this little boy, and he's thinking about food, right? He's thinking about food, and he's holding his tummy. Yes, he's holding his stomach because it seems like it's growling or it's making noise because he's hungry, right? He wants to eat. So we could ask the question, who's ready to eat? Who's ready to eat? Who is ready to eat? But instead of who is, you can say who's. Who's ready to eat? Okay? And I'll say it slower for those of you that would like to repeat. Who's ready to eat? Now a little bit faster. Who's ready to eat? All right, so now we're going to continue. Well done. Okay, guys, so now we're going to look at the second word, okay? Remember, we were looking at whose and whose. And the first one, we've learned that it is a contraction of who is or who has. What about the second one? All right, the second one is this one that we see right here. Okay, this does not have an apostrophe. Okay, it does not have an apostrophe, and we say it the same way, whose. But now let's look at its meaning. Why would we use this word instead of the other word? Okay, well, this one has two meanings. Okay, so we're going to look at both, and then we'll look at some examples. Okay, so you can hopefully understand it better. All right, so the first one, okay, this is the first meaning. Whose, I'm going to read it and then I will explain it. Whose is a possessive pronoun that means belonging to who. Belonging to who. Okay, so what we see here is that whose, it's not a contraction, it is a possessive pronoun. Possessive meaning something that belongs, posesión, right? Something that belongs to someone or belongs to you. So you would use this to show when something belongs to someone. Okay, and let's look at some examples, just one, and then we'll look at more. But here we have a pencil. Okay, there's a pencil. We don't know who it belongs to. So who does it belong to? And this little boy is thinking, whose pencil is this? Whose pencil is this? Or whose pencil is that? Okay, so whose pencil is this? Notice there's a pencil and we want to know who it belongs to. ¿A quién pertenece? Who does it belong to? So we use whose. Whose pencil is this? And notice it cannot be whose pencil is this? So if you ever wonder which word goes here, is it whose or is it the contraction, whose? Well, just undo the contraction, right? Think the contraction is who is or who has. Does it make sense? Who is pencil is this? No, it doesn't make sense. You have the is right here. Who has pencil is this? Same. Okay, it doesn't make sense. You have your verb right here, is. Therefore, whose pencil is this? ¿A quién pertenece? Whose pencil is this? Okay. And then the second meaning, okay, the second meaning. Remember, you have one meaning for whose, which is a possessive pronoun, and then you have a second meaning for this word, okay, because it can also be a relative pronoun, okay, that you use to show a person to who something belongs to. And that sounds very confusing. So let's look at an example so that we can understand it a little bit better, okay? In this case, we have a little boy, okay? I'm showing a person. So a person, okay? This little boy. And then this is his mom, okay? This is his mother. This mom, whose mom? His mom. This mom is his mom. So I'm going to use whose to show that the mom belongs to the little boy. Okay? I'm going to read the sentence. That is the boy whose mother is a famous Olympic swimmer. That is the boy whose mother is a famous Olympic swimmer. So this woman here is an Olympic swimmer, okay? And she is the little boy's mom, okay? So that is one of the ways that you can also use this word. And again, if you are confused, think about the other whose, the contraction, who is, who has, and put it here. And you're going to see it just doesn't sound right. And the more you practice, the more you're going to know it does not sound right. So let's see. That is the boy who is mother. Oh, who is? That doesn't sound right. So you cannot use whose here with the contraction. So we're going to look at these a little bit more, okay? Because I know at first it's a lot of information. So whose, let's see the first meaning. Whose as a possessive pronoun. Okay, so again, it means that belonging to someone, belonging to someone, okay? Is it my pencil? Is it her pencil? So the first one, we've seen it before. It's a pencil, and this boy is thinking, whose pencil is this? To who does this belong to? Whose pencil is this? Whose pencil is this? A little faster. Whose pencil is this? And now much faster. Whose pencil is this? And here, the same dog, right, that we saw before, but this is a little bit different. It's a different sentence. I don't know, who does the dog belong to? Who does the dog belong to? Right? So I need to ask. I need to ask, whose dog is this? Whose dog is this? Okay, now I will say it slower. Whose dog is this? A little faster. Whose dog is this? Now much faster. Whose dog is this? Whose dog is this? Okay, we don't know. So we have to ask, to who does this dog belong to? Okay, and now we've got some shoes. Okay, some shoes, and they're lying in the middle of the house, right? And you don't know who do those shoes belong to? So we need to ask, whose shoes are these? Whose shoes are these? Okay, and notice these and this. So this because it's one pencil. This because it's one dog. These because there's more than one shoe. Okay, we have a pair of shoes, two shoes. Okay, so we need to use these. Whose shoes are these? Now faster. Whose shoes are these? Okay, guys, so let's continue. We're going to look at whose as a possessive pronoun. Okay, this one that we see right here. We're going to look at it a little bit more because I really want you to understand it and I don't want it to be confusing. Okay, so let's look at these same sentences. Okay, written in a different way. Okay, so to who does this pencil belong to? To who does this pencil belong to? To who does this pencil belong to? And that's a very long sentence, as you can see. So look at that. See? Instead of to who does this pencil belong to, I could say, whose pencil is this? Okay? Whose pencil is this? Okay, but I do want you to see it in both ways. Okay? Because if you see it, hopefully you will understand it better and you'll be able to see the difference, right, when you're confused about which whose to use. Homophones can be confusing when you're learning English, but if you practice, I promise it does become easier. Okay, so remember the dog. Okay, remember the dog, and you see a dog. Whose is it? No one knows, and you want to ask. You can say, to who does this dog belong to? To who does this dog belong to? To who does this dog belong to? Or you can say, and have a think before I show you, how could you say that using whose? Whose dog is this? Whose dog is this? And look, whose is the same, is the same, and this the same. Okay? The only thing you're changing is the subject, right? Pencil and dog. Okay? So whose dog is this? Remember the shoes, right? Do you remember the shoes? And they're sitting in the middle of the house. No one knows who they belong to. Somebody needs to pick them up. So we can say, to who do these shoes belong to? To who do these shoes belong to. Okay, remember these because there's more than one. Okay, to who do these shoes belong to? And now I want you to think a little bit before I show you, um, and try to figure out how could you say this shorter using whose. Remember, whose is, and this would change, right? You would have to write these, but how could you say this shorter using whose? Whose shoes are these? Whose shoes are these? I'm sorry, I said is. You have to change it because, well, there's two, okay? Whose shoes are these? Okay? I hope that makes a little bit more sense, okay? So remember, you can always come back and see this. We're going to continue on to the second meaning of whose, okay? Now we need to see whose as a relative pronoun, okay? A little bit different. So I'm going to read this and then I promise I will explain. Whose can also be a relative pronoun that you use to show a person to who something or someone belongs to. Now I want you to remember the little boy, okay? The little boy, and we remember that his mom was an Olympic swimmer, right? She would swim, or she swims in the Olympics, right? And we want to show that it's his mom, okay? So we would say that is the boy whose mother was a famous Olympic swimmer, okay? And here we have whose. Another example, right? Examples help us understand a lot better. So here we have a woman, okay? It's a woman. And here we have a dog, and he is outside, okay? And if somebody's wondering, whose dog is this, right? That is the woman whose dog is outside. That is the woman right here whose dog is outside. Notice that it shows belonging, okay? Pertenecer, right? Like this lady, this woman, right? The Olympic swimmer is his mom. It's his mom. And this dog is her dog, okay? Who does the dog belong to? To her, okay? Which is why we're using whose. Now we have a family. Okay, we have a family. And that beautiful big house is a mansion, right? And this is our sentence. That is the family whose house is a mansion. So this mansion, who does it belong to? To this family. Okay, that mansion is theirs. That is the family whose house is a mansion. Okay, so I hope this makes a little bit more sense. I know it's a lot, but really the practice will make it much, much easier. If you would like another one of these videos with more examples, let me know, okay, because I can do that. And remember, you can always come back and look at the examples and see them again, okay, if it is confusing. So let's continue. Okay, guys, so now we're going to be doing some practice, okay? And before we do, we're going to just remember very quickly that we're working on two words that are homophones, okay? And they're right here, whose and whose. They sound the same, but they mean different things, okay? And the first one is a contraction, two words that we put together and we use an apostrophe, right? And they are for who is or who has. Okay, whose. It can be who is or who has. And then the second one, whose. Well, this is a pronoun, okay? Possessive or relative. It's a pronoun. And it means you use it when something belongs to someone, okay? When something belongs to someone, or when you're talking about someone that something belongs to, okay? Let's practice because it'll be better if we practice. Okay? So practice time. For this, you can do it on your own, on a piece of paper, in a notebook, on a whiteboard. You can write it out. You can just write down the answer, or you can say it out loud. It really is up to you. Okay? And then we're going to check it together. So I am going to go through these with you. Okay? I'm going to go through these and we're going to read them and I'm going to help you think through them a little bit. So, first, I'm going to go through them, okay, for those of you that want to think about it a little bit more and do it more on your own. And you can pause the video. And for those of you that need some help, I'm going to be here going through them, helping you out, okay? So the first one, birthday is today. We have this woman, and there's a birthday cake, okay? It is her birthday. Number two, the funniest in the family. This little girl is laughing. There is someone that is very funny in her family. That is the boy. Favorite book is Treasure Island. I love Treasure Island. So this is the little boy. This is his favorite book. Okay, and you can see that there's a treasure here because he's thinking about the treasure, because that is what he is reading. Cleaning the bathroom. It's her turn to clean the bathroom, okay? That couple, this is a couple, is dog is always barking. So this little guy is always barking, and this little dog belongs to this couple. Okay, now is the time that you've got to decide if you want to pause the video, do it on your own, or if you want to stay with me so I can kind of hint a little bit and guide you through these 5 sentences. Okay, then we'll move on to checking our work. Okay, so the first one, okay, so you've got a birthday and is today. It is a question. If you are confused, okay, if you're confused and you're thinking, which whose? Is it the first one? Is it the contraction? Or is it the pronoun? Okay, my advice is to do the contraction first. Okay, do the contraction. Remember that the first one, the contraction, it for who is or who has. Okay, who is or who has. So you can put that in the sentence and see how it sounds. See how it sounds. Look at it. See if it looks okay. All right. So let's try it. Let's try the first one. Okay. Who is birthday is today? Who is birthday is today? It can also be who has birthday is today? Who has birthday is today? Do those sound right? Do one of those sound right? If it does, if you think that sounds great, that makes sense, then you know it's whose. The first one with the apostrophe, okay? With the apostrophe and the S. If it doesn't sound right, if you think, oof, that doesn't sound okay, try the second one. Whose, the pronoun, right? That shows belonging. Because think, whose birthday is today? Does this birthday belong to someone? Does it belong to someone? If that second one sounds good, then you know it's the second one. Okay, that's up to you. Then you have to write the one that you think. Okay, I'm just helping, not giving the answers yet. All right. And for the second one, we're going to do the same thing. First, we're going to do the contraction. If it's too confusing, you go with the contraction. Okay, just don't use the contraction, use the two words, who is and who has. If it sounds good, then you know you can write the contraction. If it doesn't, try the pronoun. All right, so let's try the contraction first. Who is the funniest in the family? Who has the funniest in the family? Do any of those two sound good? Does who has the funniest in the family sound good? Does who is the funniest in the family sound good? If you think that one of those two sounds good and is correct, then you know you need to write the first whose, right? The one with the apostrophe, the contraction. Who's the funniest in the family? If you think it doesn't sound correct, try the pronoun. Try the pronoun. Who's the funniest in the family? Because whose, the second one, the pronoun, does anything here belong? Belong? Are we trying to show something here belongs to someone? Okay. Like I said, I'm not giving the answers yet. Okay. But I will later. Now, number 3, that is the boy. Favorite book is Treasure Island. Well, okay. First, try the contraction. That is the boy who is favorite book is Treasure Island. That is the boy who has favorite book is Treasure Island. Does it sound good? Then you know you need to write the contraction. Whose, right? Or that is the boy whose favorite book is Treasure Island, the pronoun. Because does this book, are we saying that this book, Treasure Island, does it belong to this boy in any way? Is it something of his? Okay. And then the same with the other two, okay? The same thing. If you are confused, if you're thinking, I don't know, is it the contraction? Is it the pronoun? Well, try the contraction. Try the contraction, okay? Okay, but instead of whose, do who is, who has. Does it sound good? Does it make sense? Does it look correct? Good. If it doesn't, then do the pronoun whose. Okay, and pick. And always ask yourself, are they showing me that something belongs to someone? Okay. And now I'm going to give you a little bit of time. Okay, I've gone through 3 of them with you. I want you to try the other 2, and we will be back with the answers. So pause the video and I'll see you in a little bit. All right, guys, so here we are, the fun moment of our class where we get to check our work and see what we got right and see what we need to improve, okay? See what we maybe need a little bit more work on. I will say that homophones can be complicated, so don't worry, okay, how you did. Good job for being here. Good job for trying to learn. I think it's amazing that you're learning another language. So just keep it up because it will get easier. Okay, I promise. So let's check our work, see how you did. So the first one, is it the contraction or is it the pronoun? Does this birthday belong to anyone? Whose birthday is today? Whose birthday is today? There's a cake. Whose birthday is today? Oh, it's mine. You can see she's right here. It's mine. It belongs to her. It's her birthday. Okay? So if you got it right, give yourself a little tick, give yourself a little check mark. If you didn't, don't worry, it's okay. You will in time, okay? You will learn in time and you will learn with practice. So just don't worry about it. Don't erase your answer. That's my advice. I wouldn't erase it, okay? I would just correct it. Make sure to show what you wrote so that you can remember the mistake that you made. If you can remember the mistake you made, okay, in time, like you won't make that mistake anymore. Okay, let's go on to the next one. The funniest in the family. This is a question. This little girl's laughing. Someone is hilarious. Who's the funniest in the family? Who's the funniest in the family? And you can see, you can say, who is the funniest in the family? Who is the funniest in the family? So then you know that it can be, that it's whose, the contraction. Okay? Check if you got it right. Now we have the little boy. It's his favorite book. It's his favorite book, Treasure Island. Okay? With Long John Silver. That is the boy whose favorite book is Treasure Island. That is the boy whose favorite book is Treasure Island? Okay, this favorite book, it's his favorite book. Okay, his. And now this woman, this girl, this lady, she's the one that's having to clean the bathroom. Who's cleaning the bathroom? Who's cleaning the bathroom? And again, you can change who's, that contraction. You can say, who is cleaning the bathroom? Who is cleaning the bathroom? Right? So, who's cleaning the bathroom? It's the contraction. And then the last one, okay, this dog always barking. And we're saying that that couple, that dog belongs to this couple. It's their dog. So that couple is whose dog is always barking. That couple is whose dog is always barking. That dog, it belongs to them, right? So give yourself a tick. That's it for today. Well done. Good job. And I hope to see you here next time with another video. And if you have any suggestions, please let me know. Thank you again for stopping by. See you next week.